it's such a privilege that all of you are here. And we all know that malnutrition, undernutrition in the Philippines has been such a problem ever since I started as a journalist. The numbers are alarming. The numbers are 95 Filipino children die every day out of malnutrition, and undernutrition, which affects and stunts the growth of children, hasn't been improving through the years. Did you know that 2 or 3 out of 5 children below 5 years old are stunted? Mas maliit sila, hindi sila kasing laki tulad ng ibang mga bata sa Asia. And the region most affected is the Barm region, with over 45% of children that are stunted in terms of growth. So this is a problem that we have not really taken a look at in terms of the severity of the issue, because we often say that the youth is the future of the country, but the truth of the matter is good nutrition is the founding principle of economic prosperity. How can you achieve economic prosperity if the future generations are not equipped and don't have the brains to do it? So today, it's such an honor to be here for the Batang Matatag project of the organizations that are part of this, which we'll introduce to you later on. So I'd like to call in on stage Vanny Gocienfiao, the makers of Erce Flora Kiddie, and Naida Pasion from Save the Children.
Thank you very much, Sharon. Good morning, Ms. Naida.
Hi, hello, buddy.
And good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. It's such a privilege to have all of you here, such very passionate individuals who are just as passionate as us in this cause. So, before we start, the first thing that we want for everyone to look at, we have a pedestal here that is very important to start off the project. Can I call on 2 volunteers to help with the 2 pedestals there? From our mom communities, from our media, can I ask for 2 volunteers, 1 for each of the pedestals, to help us out on this one? Don't open it yet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
1 more. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. The reason why we want to start out with this, this is such as a representative of what we want to talk about. Karen has already alluded to it. It's about nutrition. And what we want to show you here is a typical meal of a Filipino child in one of our lesser privileged communities. About 1.8 million Filipino children have this as their daily source of nutrition. So Ms. Naida, to our volunteers, if you can open it please for us.
Opening this one and revealing to you
how sparse the food is for children in these communities. So you can see rice and then some propek, which is what they usually have. You would see school children actually going at the back of the school with they're keeping their meals because they would say like, oh, I only have these, but this is the only kind of meal that my parents could afford for me. So this is typical meal for these communities.
So you can see there, it's just a bit of rice and propek. For most of us here, this is probably not even enough for a snack.
Yes.
Much more for a meal.
Propek is actually excluded. That's the flavored flour flavored with fish flavor or shrimp flavor. It's really not shrimp or fish. It's really flavored flour.
Flavored flour. Precisely. And in fact, for some it's a treat. For some it's asin. Sometimes it's soy sauce.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So in the communities of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, there are children who are probably the same age as our kids back at home who have this for their daily meal. And this is even made worse when a child suffers from diarrhea. It's not enough. This meager meal is not enough on its own, but how much more if the child has diarrhea. And diarrhea may be brought about by poor sanitation, unhealthy food, or unclean water. So that's why Batang Matatag is here. Yeah? Batang Matatag is a movement to be able to build resilient kids. So Batang Matatag, resilient kids. To take out the inequality in access to hygiene education, clean nutritious food, and sanitation. With our partners here, we would like to bring this cause into focus. In the initial phase, the movement will focus on approximately 1.8 million Filipino children in conflict-affected areas in BARM, who will partner with to build a sustainable system to help ensure that they grow up to reach their full potential. So we really hope to build a future where a Filipino child is really a batang matatag. So thank you very much again, and welcome.
Thank you very much, Executive Leadership, Carol Ann Stewart, who will take us through their vision of Batang Matatag and what the movement is about. Carol Ann, please join me on stage. And later on, we will be joined by our specialists for developmental and behavioral pediatrics, also the immediate past president of the Philippine Pediatric Society, Dr. Jocelyn Eusebio, Dr. the Undersecretary of the Department of Education. We have with us Attorney Alberto Muyo. Okay, but you can approach them later on if you're going to write your stories. So I think, Dr. Eusebio, we often talk about, I'll bring this up, I can't help it because I'm a journalist. We're rating low in English, in math, and science, and we're so overwhelmed with the issues that we think it's the educational system, etc. But are we missing out?
I think it has already been mentioned.
Yeah.
One of the main problems is undernutrition. As mentioned, about 30% of our children are stunted. And stunting is the most accurate way to gauge the nutritional status of children. And therefore, if you are undernourished, as mentioned, it is a vicious cycle. It will affect brain growth, and this is tantamount to affecting also the development of children. And therefore, if during the first 1,000 days, as mentioned, a child is undernourished, it's so hard to reverse. Yeah.
Because you can't develop it as they're much older.
Even if you provide all the necessary
because the brain has developed.
Yes. The brain is also stunted, is underdeveloped. So it's so hard. That's why the window of opportunity, in that window of opportunity, all the necessary factors or ingredients to optimize the development of our brains and consequently the development of the child should be provided for.
All right. Well said.
Thank you.
Okay. Now for Attorney Muyot, you talked about the law of 1,000 days. Is this what Ursa Flora and Save the Children are going to focus on? The first 1,000 days?
Yes.
So how old are they? Is that 2 years old? I can't remember anymore. What's the first 1,000 days?
Almost 3 years.
Okay, 3 years old. So go ahead. How many children are you targeting below 3?
Well, initially for the identified communities, we have we started 500 children who are most affected. I mean, we're looking at Bachao children in Ligan, and we're also looking at children who are affected by the conflict in Marantao. And then we will also consider other communities as we go along. So talagang the focus is on the poorest of the poor and the most disadvantaged.
And how will you support them? Does this mean you're feeding them every day?
Well, not just providing for food, but basically providing for proper nutrition. Nutrition is not just a matter of giving them food, but really engaging the families in making sure that they're provided through food of the most essential nutrients that are needed for their development.
And paano ang mga magulang dito? I mean, of course, ang tanong ko nga, of course, funding and help, all help is limited. So, is the partnership with Ursa Flora concentrated on the children, or will you also be providing for the parents? How does this work?
Well, we'll also be providing for the parents. And we have to remember, as Carol mentioned, that we want to engage more partners so that we can provide for all of the basic components. So we'll also be working with other donors, including our own funding, for the development of the whole community. That means improving the livelihood of the community, literacy, not only literacy but financial literacy of the families involved, and also strengthening local governance.
Well, just hearing you speak, I feel so inspired because I think what's happened is we've often forgotten already to care for those outside our circle, right? We all live in our own bubble. So when it's something so far away, we sometimes forget that it makes a difference if we actually act and do something about it. So, Carol Ann, I guess I wanted to ask you also, you've talked about already, you want to make an impact, and perhaps to close, what's the company's mantra when it comes to batang matatag? This isn't the first program I've attended though for Sanofi. Self-care was one of them as well.
So I'd say it starts with self-care, Cameron. So in Barn, first of all, really be able to educate and empower the families there to have better hygiene and better nutrition so that when we aren't there, they're still doing a great job for the ones that they love. But ultimately, my dream, as I said, would be to eradicate death from diarrhea in the Philippines, starting with Barn.
Yeah.
I would love that.
Attorney, how can others participate? I mean, clearly you have Ursa Flora already taking the lead, but you have members of the media here who may also call out other donors for your, what's the name of the program again? Save the Children.
Life Changers Program.
Life Changers Program. So you are accepting money for Life Changers Program.
Yes, we encourage people who really are concerned about children to be individual donors or to work with your companies to be corporate donors. We work with different kinds of institutions, institutional partners, development partners, but we also work with the private sector. And we're very happy to partner with Ursa Flora for this, but we also want to provide for counterparts who can also help in a small way.
Yeah.
So please visit our website, look us up in Facebook and Twitter, Instagram.
Nax. Galing mo naman. Alam mo yung Twitter at Instagram. At may TikTok.
I say we're filling up plans.
Alright. So if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to Bea Leander. So where's Bea? That's Bea. I could give you her email, but none of you will remember, so just go to her. Alright? Thank you very much. I want to thank our panelists this morning. This has been